Sometimes you just get those game weeks that make you really hate FPL. If you had one like me, stick around to see how I dealt with it. Welcome to the show. Good evening, guys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Forest Fan TV Premier League channel. I'll be your host, Ez, and I'll talk you through everything FPL and Premier League related. So if you are new here, please hit the subscribe button, tap that notification bell to be notified when we put any content out. We have got some amazing shows coming up on this channel over the next few days. So please make sure you hit that notification bell. And if you'd be so kind, please hit that like button while you're here. And we'll get on with the show. Now, as I just mentioned, last week, game week 5 was an absolute shocker for me. I'm sure for some of you guys in the chat as well. Let me just get you guys up. Oh, here we are. Right, I'm getting trolled already, crypto. Right, my record. Right, I'll have you on. I'm gonna do a show, possibly tomorrow, mate. So I might get you on, and because you're my resident troll. How you doing, Stony, mate? Good to meet up with you the other day. Who else have we got in there? Ryu, evening, my friend, and anybody else? Just stick your comments in the chat. I can see we've got a busy show today, but it is what is it? Europa Conference League today. Yeah, enjoy that. Anyway, yeah, I had a shocking week. Game week 5, the average was, I think the average was 44. I hit below average. And yeah, it wasn't good. I had a 40 game week. It didn't do me too much damage in terms of our mini league. I'm still in the top 10, but yeah, I didn't do too well. There was a few people who managed to avoid the few pitfalls that happened last week, but there were key players that just did not perform, and I think we've all had a bit of a shocking week. Guys, stick it in the chat. What was your game week total for game week 5? And I'll either laugh at you or cry with you, but I don't think many of you did any worse than me. If you did worse than 40 points, stick it in the chat or whatever your score was. But so basically I was in the if I reacted at the time, I would have made a series of changes. I may have even used my first wild card. That's how annoyed I was after that, after those results, or that run of results. But I slept on it. I woke up still feeling annoyed, and decided to make a couple of changes. So I've made my changes early already because the prices were changing quite a lot. And as you will see when I show you my team at the end, I haven't left myself too much in the bank, but I've made some key changes. And hopefully it will get me a few points back from last week. But what I've planned for today is basically to show you guys a few. Let me just get some of yours. Stone, you got 49, like I say, better than me and better than the average at the moment. Yeah, crypto, you had a bad week, man. But that didn't help, I think, obviously, with your transfers. You probably had points taken off for transfers as well at the end of it. I think because you had 28 points when I last saw it. But yeah, I'm going to talk you through what I think. If you're going to make changes, these are the changes I'd be making going ahead. Let me just bring up the correct screen so I can get involved. There we go. Right, so we'll start off with some stats, actually. So yeah, I forgot the order of my slides. So we'll start off with some stats and have a look at the most transferred in players for this game week. And as you can see, my boy Julian Alvarez is top of that with over 655,000 people transferring him into their teams just in this game week. I've had him in since game week 3, I think. It was one of the ones you guys have been very, very good, in fact, with your recommendations, I've got to say. So I think it was game week 3. I put the poll up to see which striker I'd be changing out for. Was it Callum Wilson? Yeah, I had Callum Wilson, who obviously wasn't starting and still isn't really starting regularly for Newcastle. So I transferred him out, and the choices were Julian Alvarez, Nicholas Jackson. I'm trying to think who the other one would have been. Yeah, Watkins, and I believe Taiwo. And I knew you guys would want me to go for Taiwo. And you did in vote wise, but I went against you that week because I kind of like thought I don't want to jinx him. I want him to get his. I think he was on for getting 7 and 7 at the time, and I don't want to be the one who jinxed that. So I didn't put him in. I put Julian Alvarez in, and the first week he didn't really return me too many points. I think he only got a 4-point week, but since then he really has been a solid second striker, and especially pairing him up with his teammate Haaland has worked really well for me. So I've had him in, and I've noticed a few of our mini league teams where the top pairing is Haaland and Alvarez, and I can't argue against it. And as you can see, the majority of people are jumping on that bandwagon now. Also, looking at a couple of other players, and I'll give you a hint towards one of the ones that I've transferred in, and that's definitely Botman for Newcastle. So Newcastle got a fantastic run of fixtures coming up soon. Was starting this weekend, and I think it's a good time to get their defenders in. And he's probably certainly of the cheaper ones, the most solid starter. So you have got the option of, if you can afford Trippier, I go for him. I genuinely would. I think he's going to start hitting some form now. We'll see how they rotate with Europe, because we haven't seen the new guy we bought from Southampton. His name escapes me right now, but we haven't seen him start for Newcastle just yet. So we'll see how that works in terms of Trippier. But he'd be one, if you could afford him, I'd probably go for him. But I'd definitely be looking at Newcastle defenders to be bringing in this game week and over the next couple of game weeks. And Mbeumo, as you can see, number 3 there. If you hadn't jumped on him from day one, then I mean, his price is going up. He started at 6.5 million and he's on 6.9 now. And there's a few others through that list that I'll talk you through, because what I've done this week is a good, bad, and ugly. I was about to say no, but it's basically a buy, sell, avoid, and keep. And I'll give you a few hits and tips on what I think you should do, but obviously go with your gut, because as last week clearly proved, that you just can't think too far ahead in this game, and you can plan for everything, but sometimes things just don't happen. Oh, sorry. I didn't realize I left it up, mate. I'll take it down. Evening, Matty. Evening, Matty. Nice to see you here, mate. I will take the comments now. I keep forgetting, mate. That's why I needed you backstage, Crypto. Anyway, right. So that's the most transferred in players for this game week. And let's have a look at the ones who have been most transferred out. And that'll give you a clue towards some of the slides I've got coming up as well. So Nicholas Jackson, mate, he's proven to be a flop. And although he keeps getting the chances, anybody who's a Forest fan in here, which most of us are, we saw how bad he was against us, because we are creating chances. So there's this balance between XG and the site test. So XG wise, Chelsea are up there. They're averaging 2.5 a game in some of it, goals a game in some of their games. But if you can't convert those chances, and anybody who saw that game against Nottingham Forest, those chances he missed were gilt edge chances. So it's all right having those chances and missing them, but when they're as clear cut as they are, you got trouble. And that's going to be Chelsea's problem. They haven't got a striker. They haven't got somebody who can finish off the chances. They're creating them, but they can't finish them off. And Chilwell's another one who's kind of fallen out of favor for me as well. I bought him in early because of his performance in the preseason tournament over in the US, and he looked absolutely fantastic with his attacking pace. He was playing basically as a left winger and creating chances, and I think he's set up like 3 or 4 chances in that tournament. But he's just not done it since the start of the season, and for some reason he didn't start the last game week as well. Came on as an 80th minute sub, so he would have got 1 point for that, and then he got himself booked, so he had that point taken off him as well. So a 0 return from game week 5 for Chilwell, and he's quite expensive. So 5.8 million. If you can cash him in, he'd be one that I would definitely recommend selling. And Isak, who's pictured here, he started their Champions League game against Milan in midweek. And Callum Wilson started their league game last week. So there's going to still be some heavy rotation between those strikers. And as good as they both are, I need more stability in my front line. I need to know that players are playing. I don't want to be risking it from week to week and wondering who's going to be in and who's not. So for that reason alone, he's one that definitely I would recommend you get rid of. So let's go on to it. So let's go into on buy. I'm going to list it as buy, avoid, keep, and sell. So with my buy selections, if you haven't already got him, definitely you should be looking at getting Alvarez in for Man City. From those strikers, those second strikers, if you're looking to spend 7 million or more, he's definitely still the best value. He's actually returning and he's getting the minutes as well. He's starting games. He's finishing well. He's linking up really well with Haaland. And if one doesn't score, the other one tends to. But they're definitely working well together as a partnership. Let's see how long that can keep on, because it's like Pep gave him a dreaded vote of confidence the other week and saying he's undroppable, which kind of like makes me think he's going to drop him at some point. But he is a top player and he's really done well for certainly for my team, and I can see that we've got him in some of the guys we've got him in their mini league teams as well. So Alvarez, 100% you got to be looking to get him in if you haven't already. Botman, like I've just referred to with Newcastle players, if you have a look at their fixtures coming up, they've got a really good run, and it's about time they start returning. And he's done really well already this season. I think last week he returned 9 points. I didn't have him in, but I'll let you know. But Diaby has proved to be the most solid and consistent player in that Aston Villa team. They've also got a really good run of games coming up. Now they haven't hit the ground running. They're a bit hit and miss so far, is probably the best way to describe it. But he has solidly been consistent, and he was definitely the game changer for their late win on the weekend. So definitely get DRB in if you haven't got him on already. And Buemo is the other one. Luckily, I've had him in since game week 1. Didn't play him game week 1. I had him on the bench, and I missed out on his points, as I've said before. But he's been solid, and their run of fixtures again. That's what you need to be looking at when you're transferring. You making these changes. You need to be looking at least 2, 3, 4 games, game weeks in advance to see what their run of fixtures is. Because what you don't want to be doing is transferring in, week out crypto. Okay, so yeah, so they're the 4 that I would definitely, if you haven't already got them in your team and you're looking to make changes this week, I'd be definitely looking to get those players into your squad as soon as possible. The avoids. So if you haven't already got these players, definitely don't think about getting these players in. Anana is still in my team. I've rotated him. Well, in fact, I've put him in this week. I think we're playing Burnley. I'll have to remind myself. I think they're playing Burnley this weekend. So I put Onana back in, but he's proved to be a liability in the league and in Europe. But he's one that if you haven't already got him in, he's not the goalkeeper I'd be looking to add to your team. There are other options, and Leno would probably be a top option for you to be bringing in, looking at Fulham's fixtures as well, and just how much action he gets during games. So definitely don't go for Onana if you haven't already got him. If you have got him in, I'd be looking to move him out pretty soon. And Tariq Lamptey, now he had a great game week last week with 2 assists in the win over Manchester United, 3-1 win over Manchester United. But that was because Estupinian had just come back from a long trip from his international break. I can see Estupinian coming straight back in this weekend. So anybody jumping on Lamptey to bring him in, I can't see him starting this weekend over Estupinian. So probably not waste your money, even though he's great value if you want to sit him on your bench. But as a starter, I wouldn't have him in this weekend. And Mitoma. Now that might be a bit of a surprising one for you guys, but Mitoma for me, of the players that are available from Brighton, if you're looking, he's probably the £6.5 million rated midfielders that you're looking at. Wouldn't be the first one that I'd go for. There are other options. He is a good option, but I think there are other options for that, better options for that price point, as you'll see in my later slides. And Isak, going back to what I said earlier about the rotation, I can't be taking that rotation. You don't know if he's going to start or Callum Wilson's going to start. And either way, when one of them does start, they do tend to be taken off pretty early on as well. So not good for minutes, not good for guaranteed game time. So I'd definitely be looking to avoid Alexander Isak. And he's not from Aston Villa, he's from Newcastle. Right, let's go on to so the keepers. And this one I've had a little bit of a battle with as well. Turner started on it was Monday, wasn't it? So he started on Monday against Burnley at home for Nottingham Forest, which makes me think that if if Cooper is going to make a change in his goalkeeping positions, he won't be making it until after the next international breaks. That's just my thoughts. Anybody's watching this now or later on who's not a Nottingham Forest fan, that's what I believe is going to happen. I can see Turner's done nothing wrong. He's to be dropped, and he had another solid game against Burnley as well and made some fantastic saves. I can't see him being dropped anytime soon. So I think it's still worth keeping Turner in if you can rotate him. Obviously, don't have him in this weekend against Man City. That's why I've put Onana back in for this weekend. But definitely, I'd hold on to him for now. He's still a good value goalkeeper, and you might get some increases points and get some more value in your team as well. And it's stupid, and don't be panicked into him not playing last week. It was purely down to that long journey back from his international break. I can see him going straight back in for this weekend's tie. And Matty Cash as well. A few people, he's been on the selling list for quite a few people. I think stick with him. They've got a good run of fixtures coming up. When he played at Nottingham, this is back to Nottingham Forest knowledge. When he was at Nottingham Forest, he started off as a winger and he was converted to a right back or right wing back by Sabri Lamouchi at the time. He's got attacking abilities and he's definitely one with their run of fixtures as well that I would definitely be looking to keep in. I wouldn't be looking to move him on just yet. And the one that I had the most battle with was Marcus Rashford. And going back to what I think Crypto brought up in a chat that they are playing Burnley this weekend. So Man United, it's a decent, yeah. No, that's not what he said at all. Okay, he's trolling me. I'm not going to bring up any of your comments, Crypto. Yeah, so I think we're playing Burnley this weekend. I will check it in a second. Would be foolish for me to sell him right now. I'll give him at least one more game week, but I think he's on the border of being sold pretty soon, and that price tag's wrong for him as well. I think he's like 8.9 actually, not 6.9. But yeah, I'd definitely be looking to keep him. I wouldn't be cashing him in just yet. And the sellers now, 100% for me. Ramsdale. So Raya came in for the league game last weekend, and he came in for the Champions League game. And Arteta made some interesting comments about this, and I've not heard any other manager talk about rotating their goalkeepers in the way that Arteta mentioned it, and he's looking to almost use that as an extra sub during games, and he's hinted that he will substitute his goalkeepers in game tactically. Now, all good and well for his tactics and his conscience or whatever, but that's no good for me in FPL. So I would not be going anywhere near Ramsdale, and if you've got him in, I'd sell him as soon as possible before his price drops any further. I've already said what I need to say about Chilwell. He's just been a massive letdown, and at that value, they are much better players. And like I say, I'd be immediately looking, if you've got Chilwell in, I'd be looking to sell him and immediately be looking at Newcastle defenders to be bringing in. So get the best value Newcastle defender that you can. But definitely, I'd be cashing Chilwell in as soon as possible before his price drops again any further. And Fernandez. So certainly the FPL experts had a double Man U midfield and they've stuck with it so far. So Rashford and Fernandez. Fernandez was never in mine. And if he's in yours and you've got both, of the two, I think I'd be looking to sell Fernandez more than Rashford. Rashford's still shown enough signs in the last few game weeks that he can get you points and he will get returns. He blanked last week, but they all did. You know, Man United obviously had an absolute shocker, losing 3-1 at home to Brighton. So there was no returns from them. But of the two, if you've got them both, I would be looking to sell Fernandez of the two. And obviously Jackson, like I've mentioned, he's just not hit the ground running. He's I don't know where he's left his shooting boots, but didn't pack them when he moved over to the UK, and he's one that I just wouldn't pay any more attention to, especially if you have got him. You can cash him in and get Julian Alvarez, which is so much better value. So if you've got that option, I would definitely be looking to do that. So if you have a look on the bottom of the screen, so it shows where I am as well. So the formation I'm going to go for game week 6, and I'll show you my team in a little while, is 3-5-2. I'm going to stick to that for probably 90% of games this week, this season, sorry. So I need my midfield 5 to be solid starters and be returning points. So you'll understand why I've made the changes that I have. I've made my changes early on because the prices were fluctuating quite quickly, and as you can see, all it left me after I've made my 2 substitutions this week, my true transfer, should I say. I carried over a free transfer from last weekend, so I've got 2. I had 2 this week, and it left me 0.1 in the bank. So I've left it tight, but I think I made the right decision. My overall points is 316, and my overall rank is 238,000, and the rest. I'll show you what. Wait. I can't remember. Yeah, 238,373, which isn't bad, and it's better than most of the experts and pros out there. I did lose over 100 places, so going into game week 5, I was 106,000 in the world, which is as high as I've been for many a year. I'm going to try and claw some points back this week. So just a quick recap on my tips for your buy, sell, avoid for game week 6. Buy, avoid, keep, and sell. I remember what it is soon. So yeah, keep a note of that. Freeze frame that, or come back to it. Pause the page if you need to, and just keep an eye on those, because I think there's a few experts who've gone along with similar recommendations, but I think there's 1 or 2 in there that I've popped in that might be more relevant to your team, because I've had a look through some of the teams in the league, and if there was any surgery that needed to be done on some of the teams, that would be what I'd recommend. So I'll show you my game week 6 lineup. So I have made 2 major changes. So I sold Chilwell. And I bought Sven Botman in, as I mentioned to you guys. I think you've got to try and get a Newcastle defender in these next few game weeks if you can. Excuse me. Rotation in my goalkeepers, because I didn't want to basically take a hit and lose 4 points by making any more subs. I had 2 free transfers to make, so I've used both of those free transfers. So I haven't got rid of Onana yet. He will be going soon, as will his Man United teammate Rashford. But with the fixtures they've got this weekend, I'll keep him in. I see Matoma's still in my team. He's another one that I've kind of mentioned, and I might be looking to move out soon. But the 2 major transfers were Sven Botman I bought in, and Mohamed Salah. I had to get him in, and I sacrificed Bukayo Saka to get him in, which some people might think is sacrilege, but I don't like the run of fixtures coming up. And of the 2, it was either him or Rashford that had to go for me to be able to bring Salah in. Looking at their fixtures and Man United's fixtures, Man United's run of fixtures is slightly better. And plus, with Rashford, I can always make that swap back in the next game week if I wish to, because he's valued slightly higher than Saka. So if I do decide I want to bring Saka back in, I can easily do that. And I've stuck with my Man City strike force. As you can see the stats there, I think, I've done well so far. I just don't want to lose any ground after last week. So I'm hoping. I know there's a few people who have gone for Salah, but unless you're doing a wild card, it's really hard to get Salah into your team. But I managed to, by holding on to my free transfer from last week, I managed to do it, and I managed to do it early. If I'd left it one more day, I think Chilwell's price has dropped a little bit already. So I'd already lost 0.1 million on him. So yeah, make those changes if you need to. That's my game week 6 going in, and I'm not gonna mess about with the captains. I didn't personally. I know some people did take the captaincy off Haaland last week, and it could have been a lot worse than it ended up being. I think it was his highest XG game without him scoring as many goals as he did, and he had 5 gilt-edged chances. So for those who didn't captain Haaland last week, you kind of got away with it. If he scored half the chances that he should have done last week, that could have been a real massive, painful mistake to make. But guys, I've gone on for about 25 minutes, which is about 20 minutes longer than I wanted to. But I am gonna crypto. If you're up for it, give me a shout, mate. I'm gonna do a show tomorrow, and where we'll be looking at we'll be looking back on game week 5. So I'll be bringing up the mini league. And showing you who's done well, who got the green arrows and who got the red arrows. And there was a few of us who did, but I want to shout out the guys who did manage to get a few points last week, and we'll have a look at what differences they made to their teams to get them those points. Yeah, so yeah, you'd be look out for that. So as soon, make sure you have subscribed and you start your notifications on, so you know when we point out, because I don't know when I'm pointing out yet, but it'll probably be 8ish in the evening. But yeah, still do look out for that. Thank you everyone who joined us. Hit the like button on the way out if you haven't done so already. Make sure you are subscribed to this channel, because we will be carrying on our Soccer Saturday series, although it'll be on Sunday this week. So I think we're calling it Sunday Night Football or something like that, even though it's in the afternoon. I don't know. Some trolly name we'll come up with anyway. But yeah, make sure you're watching that, where we'll get all the guys involved and we'll be around the grounds as we always are. And you'll be able to join in with us on the match day. There's some great 2 o'clock kickoffs on Sunday, so please join us for that. Make sure you got your subscribed and you got your notifications buttons on. Thank you everybody who's taken part. See you all again soon. Thank you, DJ Tone. Thank you, Stony. I will catch up with you guys soon, and come on, you Reds.